right. Good morning, folks. I hope all is well with you. We have a lot of stuff. When I say a lot, I mean a lot of stuff that we are going to be talking about today. There's some major things going on in the Middle East right now. We're going to update you on that. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of stuff that's happening. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about the direct relationship, the direct association between the Middle East and America, but more specifically Israel and America, and why that's really significant. And it is. If you don't understand it, we're going to help you to understand it because it's really, really important. By the way, I think virtually everybody that watches this channel understands it and understand it well, because I have to say this. I speak to some of the most educated people around on these issues. Our audience is amazing. Like, I am so impressed with you guys. I really do think that in many ways, part of my role is just to encourage you to go out and do what you already know to do, because you people, you never cease to impress me. This audience, you guys are really impressive to me. And it's funny because when I say things like most people don't know this, or you got to understand, most of you understand it. It's awesome, right? So, but it's good to know, because I want to remind you of the fact that a lot of people don't think like you, don't understand what you understand. And so there's a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about that. And then the other thing that I want to do really quickly before we start on this conversation, because we're going to even show you a couple of videos that are going to shock you. I mean, there are some videos that when you see them, they are astounding. And I want you to see how very real they are and what it means that even the terrorists watch what happened in the United States of America and make judgment calls, which is, I mean, it's just absolutely terrible. But believe it or not, the sentiment of Americans acts as fuel for the fire for these terrorists to do what they do. And we're going to talk about that, okay? Now, one last thing I want to do before we start, and I'm going to have David just jump right in because we have a lot of stuff to talk about, is I want to thank you guys that are doing super stickers and super chats. I have to say this because I think it's like really, really important, right? We are living in a world where demonetization continues to happen, and it's getting uglier and uglier and uglier. And when you guys support us with your super chats and your super stickers, when you jump onto locals and you're helping us out that way, it means a lot. And we are going to start a new avenue for you guys to be able to not only support us, but a new avenue for you guys to participate more and more. And we're really excited about that. We're going to let you know about that in the upcoming few months, which you're really excited about. So I just want to mention Brad Brunn. You say, Bro James, I'm not sure if you're going to be showing the Joy Reid video today, but may I ask a question? If Joy Reid hates President Trump so much, why is she warning what looks to be a toupee identical to Trump in that clip? I know, it's terrible. The Joy Reid clip I'm actually going to play in a separate video that I'm doing, because she is a level of evil that is worthy of all kinds of just spanking. So, David, let's talk about this. Why don't you update us on some of the things that we've been seeing as of late, some of the things that have happened. I know that there's been some serious loss that we've had recently. Yeah. Let's talk about all that, and then we'll get into the bigger the overall bird's eye view of all of that stuff.
Well, first of all, the fighting is still going on, and the fighting is very, very fierce, mostly in the southern part of Gaza, and the area that we know as Khan Yunis.
Yep.
Khan Yunis is the center of the Hamas, control in Gaza. It used to be a refugee camp, which is a whole story in itself. Why is there still refugee camps there 70 years later?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, when we say a refugee camp, it's not a refugee camp. It is a neighborhood, okay? Where most of the people living there originally did come from different parts, but it is it's definitely not a refugee camp. It is riddled with tunnels. Another question about that is, why are there so many tunnels underneath and nobody's allowed into the tunnels? I mean, if we are bombing Gaza, why doesn't Hamas allow its people into the tunnels?
That's right.
We understand that they're not being allowed into the tunnels. They're being kept outside in order to be, as we keep on saying, human shields. But the fighting has been very, very fierce in Khan Yunis, but we have managed to completely encircle Khan Yunis and the net is kind of closing in on the main Hamas leadership right now. But I'm sorry to say, not in Khan Yunis, on the other side, next to the border of Kisufim, there was an event where Israeli sappers were about to demolish a home that will allow access to another area. And while they were setting up the explosives, meaning the explosives had been set and arranged, a anti-tank missile hit one of the constructs, and the whole thing exploded prematurely, bringing 2 buildings down on altogether 22 Israeli soldiers that were killed in that event. One event, 22 Israeli soldiers.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's terrible. And watching the names come down the list, one of the things that I noticed is that they were all reservists.
Yeah.
Meaning the units fighting in Khan Yunis are the young, the ones that are in the regular army. It's the reservists who are doing the outside work, and all of these were 30 years old, 32 years old. These are reservists who leave their life and leave their occupation and go to be soldiers. That's what I did for 30 years. It's one of the things that's tearing me apart that I'm not there. I did that for many, many years. But the sad thing is, they all had kids, families. A lot of them were married, and it's a deep wound in the Israeli psyche.
Yeah, well, of course it is, and I think this is why we absolutely cannot keep playing with this. This thing has got to get. We got to get this thing done. These guys have to be extracted. They need to be. These terrorists need to be dealt with, and they need to be dealt with quickly. And I know it's not that simple. I get it, right? Yeah. I understand. It's just crazy.
And here's the thing. There's an economic issue connected to this, meaning the more time this goes on, the more the reservists are not doing what they should do. They're not high-tech, they're not cooks, they're not drivers, they're not everything else that they could. The economy has gone into a slump as a result of this. And what they're asking, though, more than anything, and there's been more and more news coming out, where the soldiers are saying, let us finish off Hamas, don't stop us before. Which brings
there's so much human life being lost. I mean, they're right.
The soldiers want to get it done.
They're right.
The soldiers want to get it done. They're saying, let us finish off the Hamas once and for all. But in the meantime, the other side, and it's interesting to see the country is actually having a very deep discussion, are the families of the hostages and the people who support that, who are basically saying, stop everything and bring the hostages home. And there's this, how do you say, conflict, for lack of a better word, between two of these.
But this is a difficult issue for me because I think there's you have to be starkly out of touch with reality if you say stop this and bring the hostages home. The whole reason why we're here is because they took hostages and they're not giving them back, and it's very likely that at least 30% of them are already dead.
That is the the rational, logical conclusion, but when people have their sons, their daughters, their fathers in a tunnel somewhere in Gaza, I don't believe that the rationality is the only thing that is actually affecting here. And there was a very interesting clip, if you want to go back, that the families were allowed into a Knesset, into the Knesset, into our parliament, into one of the meetings, and they were all crying and angry and upset, that the government isn't doing more to release the hostages. And the politicians or the leadership just let out steam, because you can't really say anything to these people. And again, not whether I agree with it or not, okay, the country is bleeding with them and everything that's happening. So yes, we're having these two conflicts, and again, if you are Bible reading, prayer believing Christians, pray for Israel, that dilemma that is going on inside Israel, which connects us to the next thing, which is, okay, and everybody's saying, say, ceasefire. And a ceasefire means stopping putting pressure on Hamas in return for hostages that are being released. And according to what we understand, and I'm hearing things, including from CNN and other Western sources, that there is a very sharp negotiation going on in Qatar right now, where they are discussing
In Qatar, of all places.
yeah, well.
Give me a break. How disgusting.
Okay, here's part of the thing. I mean, you have to deal. It's like dealing with gangs, literally. Okay, and this is part of the problem. But the negotiating right now is talking about something like a 2-month ceasefire in return for all of the hostages that are not soldiers.
Yeah.
And there is a growing sentiment or a growing, okay, we're hearing more and more about the United States pressuring Israel into a long-term settlement. Israel is saying only on the condition that the Hamas leadership is not in Gaza anymore. And that's something that Israel put on the table. All the hostages release, Hamas leadership outside of Gaza, which basically means a surrender by the Hamas. But Qatar is saying Hamas will never agree to that.
It means a surrender by Israel. I mean, if you don't kill the leadership, or eliminate the leadership, you have a problem.
Well, we've done this with the PLO in Lebanon, remember?
I know. And how did that work out?
Okay, but
how well did that work?
But,
Tell me.
Here we go. Okay, so here's the problem. Though I will say this: most of the bad guys in the PLO leadership that moved to Tunisia did find their demise. But that's another story. But again,
I know they found their demise. I get that.
I'm glad I'm not going to have to make the situation, or I'm not going to make the decisions. But you hear the dilemma that is going on inside Israeli society right now. It's deep. It's hard. The sorrow for the soldiers that are being killed, the worry for the hostages that are being killed. Guys, we need a lot of prayer.
Yeah. No, it's undoubtedly a big deal. Let me just stop to address a couple of things that came up. I would normally not do this. I never would do this, really. But I am going to do it considering what I'm reading here. Justin Klein, you say this. You say, Pastor James, can you clarify the passage to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord? The passage actually says absent from the body, present from the Lord. I'm asking because my mother died yesterday, just like these soldiers, and I am hurting inside. Okay, so I just want to bring something up to you, okay? If your mom knew the Lord, I'm going to make myself very, very clear. She is right now, without a doubt, with the Lord.
In a much better place.
In a much better place. She's not feeling pain. She's not feeling any sorrow. There's none of that that's going on. She is, Justin, you need to hear me when I tell you this. She is with the Lord. I can promise you that. I promise you that based on what I know the Bible tells me. I can promise you that based on, I've been studying the Bible for over 30 years, going on 31 years. I can tell you this right now. You do not need to worry because we know where your mother is. I can promise you that. Please know that. Please understand that. Do not allow anybody to tell you anything differently. Your mom is undoubtedly 1,000,000,000,000,000%. Your mom is with the Lord. Okay? Your mom is with the Lord. Do not, absolutely do not worry one bit because she is in a better place. And I just want you to know that we don't have any mistake. We are not like those who have no hope. We have hope, and you will see your mom one day. And it's exciting. Your mom is with my mom right now. I'm going to see my mom one day. I'm going to see my dad one day. They're not here on this earth. They're in a much better place, and we know that they're with the Lord. So I just wanted to put your mind at ease. I also wanted to just thank Julie Bush. Thank you so much. And Dean, yes, I will follow up on what you say with David. Thank you so much for your generosity. You're awesome, bro. But Justin, please, please, please just know, I just want you to know you have every reason to trust and know that God's word is real and it's true. It's never been disproven, and we know that we are going to see her one day. So I just wanted to stop to do that.
Yeah,
and I think it goes to speak to a lot of people who are experiencing loss right now. There's a lot of people that we can rest and know that we're going to see them, especially knowing that they know the Lord. We're going to see them again one day, right? So please just know that. And Justin, I'm glad you're listening to me. I need you to just hold it close to your heart. You will see her again. And when you do, she's probably going to tell you something like, it's about time. This has been amazing. Where have you been, kiddo? I promise you that, okay? So you have every reason to just trust and know that she is with that she is with the Lord. And John, we'll stop to pray for your daughter right now. Man, it's just when it all comes, it comes down. John Polk tells us his daughter has melanoma, I believe. So let's just pray for her right now. Father, in the name of Jesus, we pray for Teresa. We pray that you would heal her in Jesus' name, that you would touch her body, that you would have your hand upon her, Lord, and be with her right now, Father, that you would just bring that right now in this moment, Lord. Bring that complete healing, Lord. We know you're the God of all healing. We know you're the God of hope. We know that you're the God that can do any of these things because you're the only true and living God. And we pray, Lord, for comfort for Justin as well, that you would strengthen him, Lord, and just embolden him to know and understand and recognize where his mom is. So we love you, God, and thank you. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. And John, we will put your daughter on the prayer chain. And Justin, we will be praying for you. So, yeah, it's been a tough season, David.
Oh, no, and it's not over yet. I mean, there's this feeling that, things are quieting down, but, the situation in Israel is still pretty harsh, and Israel is mourning right now. I mean, we're in a state of mourning right now. And here's part of the thing that we don't realize, and again, maybe we can kind of talk about some of the clips that came up here. We don't realize why other people don't realize what's really happening in Israel.
Yeah. Look, this is an issue that goes back to the very thing we were talking about offline together. And it's hard because people, you have to start on a premise that's really critical. And the critical premise here is showing everybody the biblical side of this, right? And the biblical side of it is based on passages like in Zechariah, for example, Zechariah chapter 12, other passages in the Bible. We know that in the last days, as we get closer and closer and closer to the return of Christ, that we are going to see an increase in anti-Semitism, that this is something that we know is going to be the case. And it's like that video you showed me of Noah Tishby, where, you got these people from the river to the sea. And then she's walking around asking them, okay, what river are you talking about? Well, I don't know. It's the one next to the sea. Okay, what sea are you talking about? The Black Sea, the Red Sea, right? I think, didn't someone say the Dead Sea?
No,
the Red Sea, the Red Sea and the Black Sea. It's like they don't even know what they're saying. But the reality of it is they are being blinded by the devil, and they're not even just being blinded by the devil, they're being inspired by the devil. It is really, truly satanic.
And okay, so we had a little bit of conversation about this before, and let's see if I can tie this in a little, because as a Christian, as a Messianic Jew, okay, or as a Christian, I understand that dynamic. But I can also understand looking at this from a Jewish point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to remind everybody, if you probably haven't heard it before, we're going to hear it again. If we came out of Egypt 1.5 million people, okay, 3,800 years ago, how many Jews should be in the world today?
Oh, look, we know statistically what that should look like.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is any Jew living today is the remnant of a remnant of a remnant of a remnant. We have anti-Semitism in our DNA. We all have ancestors that were killed for being Jews. We all know that. We all accept that. But it's been really interesting for the last 70 years. The state of Israel has come back. We fought major wars. We were prospering. We were growing. And we'd kind of forgotten that we're Jews. We'd kind of connected to the Israeli identity and forgotten that we're Jews. And what's happening now is Israel's looking at these people that Noah Tishby is talking to, who buy into this terrible libel, who buy into these terrible lies without having any idea.
Oh, yeah.
And we're reminded of stories that we heard in the past when people would say, the Jews used the blood of Christians to make the matzah for Passover. And I still remember thinking the fact that there's going to be somebody who believes that is not what's surprising.
Right.
The fact that relatively intelligent, relatively good people buy into that, that's what kind of has us on our toes. And we are watching again smart university professors, smart people in the political realm who are buying into a narrative that is so definitely anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic.
It's satanic.
And
It's anti-God.
We're saying this. We've been here. We know this. Not only that, our enemies are using anti-Semitism in the Western world as a reason to justify their attacks on us. And that's what we saw a while ago.
To any Jew, I would say the same thing. And I think it's important that we say the same thing. We have to bring this up. We have to emphasize this. You have to go back to the God of your fathers. You have to go back to what he declared. You have to read what he said. I mean, write down to what you read about when he says, if you obey the word of the Lord, then he says, I'm going to bless you in the city. I'm going to bless you in the country. Look, let me just say this. I'll make this because you alluded to it. So let me just refer to this. Based on the numbers that we know existed when the Jews came out of Egypt, to the numbers that existed when Caleb or Yeshua leads them into Canaan, those numbers, based on the increase, based on what we know from the numbers there, you should see, if they went by the same rate of multiplication that we saw over a 40-year period, you should see close to 1 billion Jews on this earth. That's a real number. You should see that number over the course of several thousand years. There's a very real reason why that isn't the case. And we know it's spiritual. And God said it. I'm using you as an example, right? And the bottom line is, as God's ancestrally chosen people, there is a significant price to pay. And as we get closer and closer and closer to the end, look, everybody talks about genocide. The real genocide is what we've been seeing with Israel.
So here's another kind of piece of information that kind of clicks into this. It's only this year that the number of Jews in the world has returned to the pre-Holocaust numbers.
Yeah, which, by the way, is still a nothing number.
Yeah.
Okay, I want everybody, when we're talking about 15 million Jews worldwide, and that's a very generous number, by the way, that's debatable. Some people say that number is as low as 13 million, okay? Which, by the way, 9 to 10 million of which live in Israel. So just to give you an idea of that number, it's a nothing number.
But, okay, here's something else that's very interesting. The rise in anti-Semitism in the Western world, okay, has led more and more Jews to understand the need for the state of Israel. Our enemies are saying, wait a minute, Judaism is a religion. I mean, you can live in China, you can live in the U.S., you can live in Europe, okay? Why do you need a homeland? Watching the anti-Semitism spread along the world, watching the demonstrations of hundreds of thousands of people in Paris yelling, from the river to the sea, which basically is ethnic cleansing of the Jewish nation, watching that happen, more and more Jews are saying, now we understand why we need Israel, why we need a backdrop, why we need a place that we know will be a safe haven for the Jewish people if and when.
How about this? How about we take it a step further and we talk about the idea of being Islam and how Islam drives this ideology for the hatred of Jews. But here's something that a lot of people don't know. And even people in this audience might not even know. And I'm going to deal with it on Friday. As a matter of fact, I've got a guy, Jay Smith, that I interviewed. He is an amazing guy. He is, in my opinion, the greatest. Absolutely agree. He is the foremost polemics guy in Islam. He is the guy. He is remarkably brilliant. If you saw the last video that really blew up, that really exploded, was the one he did over at Jack Hibbs' church. The guy is amazing. He knows. Look, Jay Smith is he is a brilliant guy. He's an absolutely brilliant guy. But let me just say this, because I think this is like really important, right? One of the things we talked about that a lot of people don't know, I'll ask you, you might not even know this number, right?
Okay.
What percentage of Muslims speak Arabic?
I'd say half.
You say 50%? Okay, let me ask you this question. What percentage of Muslims are Arabs?
Again, I'd say about half.
You say about half?
I mean, I'm taking Indonesia.
They're not Arabs.
Iran, Turkey, Malaysia, all of them are not Arabs.
Well, Iran, they're considered to be Persians. The debate in terms of Arabs.
Turks.
I'm just talking about Arabs. Turks are not really considered Arabs, believe it or not,
so
even though they
less than
are.
half, I'd say a third to a fourth.
Okay, you ready for this? 15% of those who are Muslims speak Arabic. 15%. How about this? Which, by the way, the Quran is an Arabic language book.
Yep.
Okay? How about this? 15% of all Muslims around the world are Arabs.
Okay.
15%.
All right.
The majority of the Arabs that exist right now are in the 1040 window. And what we're actually talking about is we're talking about India, we're talking about Pakistan, we're talking about those areas, right? Those are the
Do the Arabs consider themselves better or more quality Arab Muslims than non-Arabs?
undoubtedly.
So there's racism in Islam?
Undoubtedly.
Is it
Undoubtedly.
Does anybody know that to be a Negro, to be a black-skinned person in an Arab country is considered
Disgusting.
shameful?
They hate it. They hate black people. That's why the Nation of Islam to me is such a joke. Because if they understood and they recognized the background, they would know better.
Okay, but again, just like everything else, I'm going to bring the Jewish point. I mean, wait a minute. If that's true, and
It is.
people know it, and it's common
People
knowledge.
don't know those numbers,
Okay.
and people don't know that about blacks.
Why are we being accused of racism? Why are we being accused?
Because this shows you how good the devil is at deception.
Okay.
Think about this. How about we do this? And I'm going to talk about this with Jay pretty extensively. We're going to have this conversation on Friday. You guys don't want to miss out on this conversation, right? But think about this. How about Mecca? Can we talk about this? Okay. 7th century. Was Mecca even a city that people went to? Was it even around?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's ancient. I mean, the Qibla was there for
No, it wasn't.
when did
No, it wasn't.
When was it invented?
Do you know that the original reference for that term? Explain to people what you mean when you use that term.
Well, the black stone in
The
the middle.
square, the stone on the
black
hill.
Stone square in
Yeah.
the middle of the how do you say the courtyard where everybody walks around and.
Do you know
and
do you know what the original stone was?
Well, it was a meteorite. If I
No.
remember.
Do you understand what this original square was that early that Islam got this from?
No.
It existed far before Islam ever existed, and
Okay.
it didn't exist in Mecca. Let me just say this before I go to answer that question. If you look at Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula right now, why would there be any city in the Arabian Peninsula prior to maybe the 8th century BC or the 9th century, maybe the 10th century?
The only thing I remember happening was the spice roads. I mean, the Nabateans coming from
Roads. You're talking about roads. Routes that are north of the Arabian Peninsula. Not tell me this. Prior to the Suez Canal, was anybody utilizing the Red Sea?
Oh no.
And the ones that were
It's a dead
utilizing
end.
and the ones that were utilizing the Red Sea, where were they parking? Were they parking on the side of the Arabian Peninsula, or were they parking on the side of Africa?
No, on the African side.
Of course they're parking on the African side, right? So where there's no water and there's all desert, are you going to see a booming, thriving city?
So how did Islam break out of there to conquer the rest of the known world?
The only Mohammeds that we know of aren't even coming from Mecca. The only Mohammeds that we actually know of, and there's a few of them, they come from the north. They're the Mohammeds of Syria, Jordan. Those are the Mohammeds that we know of. And they, by the way, date back to the 8th or 9th century. So who's the Muhammad that they talk about? There is no real prophet Muhammad.
Salahuddin, where did he come from?
Okay. So let's back up for a second. Let's address one other issue. I'm going to ruin what we're going to do on Friday, so I'm not going to get too much into this. Okay. Let's go back.
But you're having too much fun.
Let's go back to the square. No, because it's going to prove a point, right?
Okay.
Let's go back to the square you're talking about, right?
Okay.
Okay. What is the normal understanding of that in Mecca? You tell me what you understand of it.
Well, this is where Muhammad had his vision. This is the cave where Muhammad saw Gabriel. This is where the interaction, and this is a holy site that connects the believer to Allah.
So you want to laugh at something?
Yep.
An overwhelming majority of the things that we see expressed in Islam take principles from Christianity and early Judaism, rip it off, and make it their own.
No, it's a cut and paste.
The square that people used to walk around, because I'm just gonna use basic terminology that a lot of people might not understand. You know where that square really came from?
Nope.
Yerushalayim. You're talking about the Temple Mount.
Okay, the concept, yeah.
It is. When was the look? Even the very idea behind them circling a building comes from where?
From the Bible.
Yes. So the whole idea behind it is even the Quran. Let's just and to some people, this is going to sound blasphemous, but even the Quran, they say that the Quran is the unaltered word of Allah, right?
No, it's changed.
That's what but that's what they say.
Okay.
That's what they say, right?
All right.
Even though there's right now 29 copies of the Quran, all of which have different meanings, and I dare anybody to find any early manuscript of the Quran that predates the 8th century.
So we believe that the Quran was finalized when?
The Quran wasn't even really completely finalized until the early 1900s, if you really think about it.
Okay.
I mean, my whole point behind it is, and I think this is just like, it's unbelievable. Like, it should be shocking to people, right? It is such a farce. It's a fake, right? So even when you look at the Arab Muslim who does what they do, there are so many other areas, so many other aspects of this that aren't even considered, that people don't even look at. My point behind it is because I want to be able to demonstrate to people how spiritual this is, right? I just want everybody to demonstrate this. Saudi Arabia is a significant part of the Arab world. We know that. It holds the most holy site of Islam, right? As a matter of fact, if you look at an interview with MBS, what does he say? He calls himself the guardian of the things that are holy in Saudi Arabia, okay? Okay, but let's talk about this for just a second, right? If that is the case, and we look at Saudi Arabia as being the place where all of that originated, Saudi Arabia as a nation, the booming section of Saudi Arabia wasn't until recently.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it was all desert. Nobody dwelled in those areas.
Oh,
yeah. You didn't see any of that stuff. As a matter of fact, let me go as far as to say, even the modern day irrigation tools that are used in Saudi Arabia right now were taken from Jews who figured out how to irrigate from the Sea of Galilee.
Yep.
So let's just talk about this because it's important. Like I think it's really critical to say this. If you're walking around from the river to the sea, where the Palestinians must be free, we're occupying this territory, whatever. Like, do you understand that Judaism existed thousands of years before the lie of Islam even started? So to claim that you were there first is as big of a lie as the validity of your Quran. I dare anybody. I will give right now. I'm telling you this right now. I will write somebody a check for $5,000. That's my promise. $5,000 right now if you can produce a copy of the Quran, a legitimate transcript of the Quran that dates to the time of Muhammad. How about this?
No.
How about this? Give me a copy of the Quran that dates anywhere within 70 years of the time of Muhammad. I will give you a check for $5,000.
Okay, but
you won't find anything until close to 900 AD.
But somehow they bought into it. Enough people bought into it. Enough people bought into it to spread the word across the world. Enough people bought into it to accept it. I mean, Islam was on the edge of conquering Europe. I mean, there was one battle. They were one battle away from conquering France, and if they'd conquered France, the rest of it would have been a story. The Turks were one battle away of conquering Eastern Europe. They were stopped at Austria, at Vienna, if I remember correctly. We're on the edge there. A lot of people did buy into it.
I'm going to show you on Friday a video
Okay.
between Muhammad Hijab, right? Who's, by the way, he's become very famous apologist for Islam, which, by the way, he's on so many levels, completely ignorant and uneducated. And a lot of the statements Muhammad Hijab makes, that people believe it as real because he has a British accent.
And he speaks forcefully.
He's aggressive, but he's a fake. He doesn't even, he himself recognizes the holes in Islam, but will never talk about it, right? I'm going to play a video that Muhammad Hijab did. I'm going to play this on Friday. Muhammad Hijab did with Dr. Yasir Khadi. And this video, if you don't know who Dr. Yasir Khadi is, he is Islam's premier expert on the manuscripts of the Quran.
Okay.
There is no greater expert alive right now. There is nobody that is the foremost authority on this.
All right.
And he goes to this guy and he says, which Quran is the one? If I give you a blank piece of paper and you were to write down, and you know what he says? Don't even ask me that question. We don't talk about this. Even within this is not what we're talking about. Al-kalam al-Quran, al-kalam Allah. This is God's word. We're not gonna. This is not God's word. This is Allah's word. We're not gonna even talk about it. No joke.
All right. So why are so many non-Muslims buying into this new religion?
My point is this. This is why. My point is this is spiritual. This is a satanic deception. And the sooner we hold fast to this, the faster we learn to understand this, the more effective we're going to become in combating it.
All right, so I'm going a little bit further again. Watching the movie from Noah Tishby and watching this movie from Khalid Mashal, okay,
Yep.
where the Palestinian, the Hamas, literally is quoting American students who are chanting
We'll
from
play
the
that.
river to the sea.
It's disgusting.
Okay, and what I'm saying is, why are so many people buying into this? And I think that it ties in together, and maybe this is part of the direction we need to take. It ties in together to the fact that there is an anti-West, anti-America, anti-Western values that is actually spreading inside the rest of the world. Because you don't see demonstrations for Hamas in Baghdad.
It's spiritual. This is the thing. The devil is doing. He is the king. He's the father of lies, and that's exactly what he's doing. Look, this guy. We're gonna. Oh, let me go back because I have to set this up. This guy that you're about to see, I do that all the time. I don't know why I do that. This guy that you're about to see, we all know who he is, okay? But what people don't realize is this man absolutely hates the Americans.
Oh, yeah.
That he's about to say, give him the authority to do what he does. I want people to understand that.
Before the video, though, I want to remind everybody what we're hearing chanted in the streets of America, what we're hearing chanted on campuses all over, is from the river to the sea, which is a very catchy phrase, okay? And when you go and ask the people what river, what sea,
they don't know.
Most of them have no idea. When you ask them what is being occupied, they have no idea. When you ask them, how is apartheid working in Israel, they have no idea. It has become, I'm going to say, a new fad, okay, to support everything that is anti-Israel. And here's the thing, not because people believe, because they want to offset the moral fabric of what this country actually represents.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand it, but they believe that that's eroding the values that they have seen and they have grown up with. Why? Okay. And they do that. And then on the other side of the world sits somebody that is so foreign from them, so completely different, who's bought into all of Islam, and he is, well, let's see what he says.
Yeah, and Dale, can I have you come in here for just 1 second? Dale. Hold on one second. I'm going to mute these microphones because I'm going to set another video up here, but I don't want you to know about it until I play it, okay?
Da-da-da.
Okay, sorry about that. Didn't mean to scream in the microphone. Had to get Dale's attention.
Da-da-da.
You're going to be, when I play this other video that I'm having Dale pull for me, it's just going to, it's going to be, it's going to amaze you. It's just going to be amazing. Okay. But this shows you how ignorant, I mean, it's spiritual. It's only description.
And here's something else that I'm starting to hear and kind of connecting. Why is it only the young people?
Oh, believe it or not, it's not anymore.
Well,
It used to be.
originally it started off, and we're dealing with that.
Here's the reason why.
It grew up among the young people.
Well, here's the reason why. This is an easy one, David. This is not even hard. The reason why is because when young people are not guided by godly men and godly women, when they come from broken homes, their propensity and their desire for sin increases. The more sin they allow themselves to be given to, the further away they get from God, the more ignorant and blind they become regarding the real issues. And that's exactly what we're seeing here.
So
And that's why this baby boomer generation is such an ungodly generation today. Because of the fact that they came from a culture and a background of a bunch of kids that basically did, it's the whole,
well,
tune out
There's a
thing.
much deeper kind of dynamic here, but so we've taken the family out of Western
100%.
society.
100%.
Okay, children are not being raised by a combination father-mother, are being raised by one or the other, or not at all. Okay, which means we've got less godliness in our public society. If
Yep.
we got less godliness in our public society, we've got more rebellion. Rebellion against everything that we have realized that has made this country what it's been made. And again, I keep on saying this. The United States of America isn't a Christian country per se. It's not a theocracy, but it is built on Christian values.
Yeah.
Okay, the state of Israel is not a theocracy. It's a Western. It's a democracy, but it's based on Jewish biblical values. We have two countries that are based on Jewish and Christian values, or I'm going to say biblical
The same
values.
God.
And now they're being attacked, one from outside and one from inside.
Yep. Well, and actually, the Jewish nation is being attacked from the inside as well. Not so much anymore because of what happened on October the 7th, but there's still a lot of that going on. And also, I think it's worthwhile to mention because I think it's very, very important to talk about this, right? Every single time we visit this issue, the family is probably one of the biggest variables that exist in this situation. Yeah. We look at all the craziness that's going on in the black families in this country, right? Think about this for a second, bro. You want to know why so many of the things that came out of the civil rights movement are destructive? Think about this. In 1910, 85% of all black families had a father present in that family. Okay, that's 1910.
Wow.
Now, here we are, right? You get yourself to 1960, and in 1960, 80% of all black families, not 85, 80% of all black families had fathers in them. 80%. Okay? Now you've got LBJ, who was an insane racist. He was a terrible racist, right? Basically, his whole premise was, let's pass the Civil Rights Act. He blocked it initially. Then he chose to pass it. And he said the reason why passing the Civil Rights Act was a good thing was because his own words, we will get these I don't even have to explain it, to vote for us for the next 200 years by doing this. And by the way, when they passed a Civil Rights Act, then they began to introduce social programs that would pay out to mothers with children so long as the fathers were not in the picture. Now we hit the fast forward button. You ready for this? This is going to make you sick. What percentage of black families today have a father present in them? 20%. So it used to be in 1960, 20% of all black families did not have a father in them. Now it's 20% of all black families have a father in them. So it's falling apart.
8 out of every 10 black children
do not have a father
do
in
not
their
have
house.
a father.
Do not have a father in their house.
Okay,
Gone. In jail, out with other women, making babies, whatever.
I know that I make Balagan connections all the time, but here's the connection. I mean, have you been watching what's going on in Disney?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just another level or another, how to say, aspect of taking men out of the equation. I have not seen a Disney character that is a strong male in a long time.
Oh, no, and you're not going to. And the other, and then let's just even talk about government. Let's just stop. How about we just talk about families and how the government, what the government thinks of families? Did you know? And I know I'm going to step on toes here. And if people get mad, they can get mad. Oh well, I'm telling the truth. You can go and stop and contemplate. But let me just say this, okay? 30 years ago, 35 years ago, you could not adopt a child unless it was a father and a mother. Then, as of about 20 years ago, maybe around 20 years ago, you could adopt a child as a single parent, which is insane. I'm sorry, it's insane. You know, the only way that they allowed a mother to adopt a child as a single mother or to foster a child, anything like that, was when there was a familial connection, and that child in the alternative would be sent off to another situation. That was the only time. You want to know why? Because we knew something back then that we know today, but we're ignoring. And that is, you are not going to effectively raise a child to be a productive member of society and to walk and live right if you are not introducing to them the structure that God intended. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of people who were raised in single parent houses that came out amazing.
No,
there are some amazing people, but that's because of the grace of God. Look, now you can be two men and adopt a baby. You can be two men pretending to be two women and adopt a baby.
And let's maybe tie this together, because with this falling apart of the moral center in the vacuum that was created, this new religion of wokeism, progressivism, inclusivity. Okay, everything is okay. Men, women, I mean, it's all that even connects to what we talked about before, because people
100%.
who believe that everything is okay are going to say, wait a minute, what's the difference between Islam and Christianity and Judaism? I mean, they're all different versions of the same thing. It's all a different version of the same element. You understand that it becomes everything. There's no right and wrong. There's no black and white. There's no good and bad. There's all levels of this. So somebody says, wait a minute. So here's the idea. Everything is the same. Men, women, fathers, mothers, all different versions of the same. And here's why somebody is using that diversity, that plugging into diversity, in order to justify one of the most terrible atrocities that have ever taken
100%.
place. And that's what we're looking at, or we're going to see in a few minutes.
100%. Watch this. You want to do this little introduction? You want to let people know what the story is behind this?
Khalid Mashal was the head of the Hamas for many, many years. By the way, he was saved by the Jordanians.
I know,
don't know
it's
if
so
you
ridiculous. I know.
This man was actually, I'm going to say, poisoned by the Mossad. Now we know it was the Mossad while he was in Jordan. And because the Jordanians didn't want the assassination to take place on Jordanian soil, they pressured Israel. I mean, the king of Jordan literally almost declared war on Israel to save this man's life. And the Mossad gave them the antidote and saved his life at the last moment. Think about that in a moment when we'll talk about the heads of Hamas that are in Qatar right now, and we'll see what that means. But Khalid Mashal actually gets on television and says in Arabic what you're not going to hear anybody say in English anywhere.
Never.
Okay, and says something very clear. And what I'm kind of surprised at this clip, and I remember I watched it, is that what he says we've heard before. Okay, I mean, the Palestinians are very clear about what they think about. I mean, the Hamas is very clear about a two-state solution. But here's part of his justification, and listen to what he says.
Yeah, it's amazing. Which, by the way, this guy's net worth is what now? Probably what, $2 billion?
I think something like $3 billion.
Oh, it might be $3 billion, and he's living in Qatar, living a high life.
A good life.
It's insane. Okay, listen to what he says, and it's amazing. It's kind of funny too if you notice with him now that he's been living in Qatar and has been living the good life. Did you notice that his forehead isn't dark anymore? Did you notice that?
Yep.
He's not praying to Allah like he used to.
He doesn't have the mark of the beast.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, it's a sign of being pious when their head is colored in the front because their face is hitting the carpet, basically, when they're doing their prayer. And they're waking up in the morning. Anyway, Anyway, okay, let's play this. Here we go. Pay close attention. By the way, translation is actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good translation. Here we go.
إنه هذا المعركة 7 أكتوبر فتحت أفق لموضوع الرؤية السياسية، وهنا يعودون إلى بضاعتهم القديمة حل الدولتين. وهنا أقول مسألتين في حل الدولتين. المسألة الأولى نحن لا نقبل حل الدولتين. هذا مصطلح مرفوض، لأنه معناه أنك أنت لك دولة موعودة ومطلوب منك أيضا تعترف بالدولة الأخرى اللي هي الكيان الصهيوني، تعترف بشرعيته.
You guys get that?
He's very clear.
He's making, and we're going to continue on, but he's making it utterly clear. He is saying, we reject the idea of a two-state solution because if there's a two-state solution, that means Jews are alive.
That means there's a Jewish state.
That means there's a Jewish state. He says, that didn't come from us.
Nope.
Think about that for a second,
calling
folks.
it old merchandise.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. He hates Jews so much, he won't even say the word Israel. He refers to them as enemy.
So here's my problem.
We'll continue on with this. It's
the
bad,
people
go
who
ahead.
support the two-state solution.
Oh, just wait.
Who bring that?
Just wait. This shows how ignorant these college kids are because they're brainwashed by these ungodly, satanically inspired professors.
Yeah, but the thing is this: they're now being used. Look at this.
Oh yeah. No, they're completely being used. This is why every single time you tell me that you struggle being here and you wish you were over there with your comrades or whatever, like, you get it, don't you? You're fighting the crazier war.
Yeah.
You're fighting the harder war. This is the more difficult war. Believe me when I say that. I'm not minimizing the loss of life, and I'm not minimizing how difficult it is to be fighting in the rain and all of that stuff. This right here is the more difficult war.
Okay. And this is what we're doing. We're fighting it.
It's the more significant.
And you guys have to help us fight it because listen to what the enemy is saying, and they're very clear.
Watch this, folks. This is no joke.
فهذه مرفوضة. نحن نطلب التحرر، تخلص من الاحتلال، ونريد استقلالنا ودولتنا. أنا غير هذا عدوي. أنا غير معني به.
I'm going to rewind it here. Did you notice when he said Israel is my enemy? He's not saying Israel. So they're translating it as Israel, but he's referring to them as the enemy. If you understand Arabic, you'll know that's what he's saying. It's heavy.
Interesting.
It's heavy. He will not even mention Israel.
It's very interesting to hear him say, I don't care about Israel, but people expect me to say I care about the Palestinians.
Yep.
Why should I care about the Palestinians?
He doesn't even care about
if
them.
The Palestinians don't care about me.
That's his whole mantra. Look, this is my whole point behind 15% of the Islamic world being Arab. Like, do you realize, first of all, Satan doesn't care about you. He's never cared about you. He doesn't care about you, whether you're Muslim, Christian. He doesn't care. He doesn't care one bit about you. But isn't it funny how the most common perception of Islam, by the way, I just want to say this, and I'm not going to be, Jay said this and he's right. He was not wrong. He said the lightweights, the ones that are easy to defeat in a debate when it comes to Islam are the Arab speakers, the Arabic speakers.
Yeah.
They might speak the language of the Quran, but they are the most ignorant of the manuscript information. They're most ignorant of all the basics. The ones that you should be scared of are the guys coming out of India, Pakistan, some of these other places. They're the ones that you should be a little bit nervous of, because they're the ones that are well researched, and they're the ones that will attack and be effective in their attacks, which is why we have to be obviously informed of the truth. But this is so typical of how Satan works. He's using him as a pawn, and this guy loves it because he's making billions off the death of the future. Not millions, billions.
Okay, but here's part of the thing. I need you to put him as a figurehead and understand that he represents, it's not just him personally. He represents a mindset that says we will never reach an agreement with the Jewish state. And what I'm trying to say is this, and a lot of people kind of get this wrong. They think, oh, it's the poor Palestinians. No. 3 generations or 4 generations Palestinians have been raised with this mindset.
Yes.
That they believe. And the people in Gaza today, the vast majority of them believe like this man.
Hamas's charter, David, I'm going to repeat myself. Hamas's charter says you are a traitor if you make peace with Israel. Why do you think Jordan wants nothing to do with Palestinian refugees, as they would call them? Why do you think Egypt has completely closed their border? Do you know the wall that exists in Gaza? Do you know where the biggest, most significant portion of the wall in Gaza is? It's the wall that separates the southern border of Gaza between Egypt.
So here's my problem, okay? They're being very clear. They've been clear in the past, and they're very clear now. Why don't we, and I say we as the Western world, don't accept them for what they're saying? And why don't we understand that the problem is not just the Hamas? The problem is a whole mindset, a Muslim mindset, where truth is not a value, lying is acceptable behavior, murdering and raping is a normal procedure. I mean, it's actually recognized in the Quran, okay? And they're saying this, they're acting this, they're playing it out. Why doesn't anybody believe them?
Do you know one of the results of the treaty in 1978 between Egypt and Israel was? One of the results was an understanding between the two nations that they would utilize each other's technology and assets to protect their sovereign territories. Mm-hmm. By the time you got to the peace treaty near the end of the 70s with Egypt and Israel, Gaza was gone. The debate of who possessed Gaza was over with. 67 and 73 pretty much ended those debates, okay? But here's the thing that's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Was it 10 years ago? No, longer than that. It was probably 13 to 15 years ago. Egypt goes to Israel and says, we want your underground wall technology to protect the southern border of Gaza from Egypt. Israel says, okay, no problem, but you're going to have to monitor that. So here you go, have it. This is your monitoring. You're going to have to monitor it. And then Egypt gladly takes it while it's being built, station more soldiers on the southern border than they've ever stationed on any border ever while it's being built. And then after it's built, they build a wall that is bigger, more ugly, and more aggressive on their southern border, the southern border of Gaza, than what Israel has ever built. So to the north or to the west.
So here's my point of view. Again, this is an Israeli looking out at the world and saying this, okay? If this was the border between Pakistan and India, I mean, people have been moved across the border many, many times. There's nobody. I mean, there's there's a war between them. The world is quiet. If this was a border between Peru and Ecuador, okay, and things are happening along the border, nobody would have said anything. And I'm going to say even this: the Arab world sees the Palestinians as a problem. The only support that the Palestinians are getting, and the reason the reason Hamas has stayed in Gaza, Gaza stayed in the Hamas hands and is being such a problem to Israel, is because of what he's going to say right now.
Habibi, let me take it one step further. When we were in the Sinai, me and my dad with a group, before, we were in Egypt a couple of weeks before Jeff and Karen came to join us. Then when they came to join us and we went north, into the Sinai and at the southern border of Israel, okay? This was 3 days prior to the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, okay? For whatever reason, Israel felt the need to secure things a little bit more. When we were at the southern border going from Sinai, right, into the south, into Israel in the south, crossing that border, there were not only Egyptian officials that were present in that border, but there were Israeli officials from the IDF and there was Israeli intelligence.
Yeah.
And they're all, when they pulled me and my dad out of the bus and interrogated us for, 30 minutes, mostly in Arabic, by the way. Do you know the one thing that got them to let us go? Like it was easy, it was done. They were like, bye, see you later. Is the very moment they asked us to talk about Jesus Christ being our God. They asked us a question. They said, oh, you're Christian? Really? Tell us your testimony. The moment we started talking about our love for Jesus, they said, bye.
Yep.
And I asked them, I said, if you don't mind me asking, why are you letting us go after hearing that? Because if you are a Muslim, which we're mostly concerned with right now, they had no problem saying that, then we would be more inclined to want to see what's going on. One of the things we learned there, and I did not know this prior to 95. This is 1995.
Okay.
Prior to 95. You know the one thing I did not know? And I learned this over there. The reason why Egypt has those borders so tight, the reason why they're so serious about this, the reason why, which by the way, I have to say this is also we were the first group to go into Jordan after the peace treaty was signed in 1994. Which was really incredible. It was like we were part of that historic group. We were the first bus to go through in Jordan, which was really, because before you had to fly in there. There was a lot you had to do. We were the first group in 1994 to go to, when we went to go Petra and all that. Okay, so when we go through, I learned this and I did not realize this. Egypt is so concerned about the presence of Palestinians, especially near Khan Yunis, near Gaza, near the southern border, because they knew this. At the time, they were not called Hamas. At the time, Egypt was concerned with one group, the Muslim Brotherhood. You want to know why? Because the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic Brotherhood, had the same indoctrination. And that was this. If you are a nation that has made peace with Israel, you're a traitor, and you must be dealt with. When everything happened in Shuara Tahrir with the Islamic Brotherhood, that was with the help of the State Department, right? Okay. They did that as the reason why Hillary Clinton helped that happen, right? When the president was ousted out of Egypt and that whole thing, and Sharif came in, all that, that Morsi came in, all that. Understand, that was the State Department hating Israel. Yeah. That had nothing to do with Egypt. Why? Because the Islamic Brotherhood came in. Now, the current president of Egypt pushed them all out, understanding the fact that if they did not push Islamic Brotherhood out, Egypt would be destroyed. Because they are traitors.
Which brings us back to, who is he counting on? Him. Okay, him and everything that he represents.
Ready. Are you ready?
Who is he counting on? Who does he feel has his back?
Get ready.
Go for
you ready for this one, folks? You shouldn't be surprised when you see this. I'm just warning you guys. Don't be surprised when you see him say this. And what he says in Arabic is every bit accurate. The translation is a good translation. It's an accurate translation. It is not a broken translation. The translation is correct. Here we go.
مطلوب لك أيضا تعترف بالدولة الأخرى اللي هي الكيان الصهيوني. تعترف بشرعيته. فهذه مرفوضة. نحن نطلب التحرر، تخلص من الاحتلال، ونريد استقلالنا ودولتنا.
I just want to repeat myself in case you missed it, guys, please. Because even the translation isn't going to give you the greatest picture. We reject a two-state, this is what he's saying. We reject a two-state solution because if we accept a two-state solution, it forces us to recognize the legitimacy of a Zionist state. That's his way of being the most derogatory that he can. It's us basically saying we recognize the right for Jews to exist.
And who agrees with us? According to him, who agrees with him?
Oh, here we go. Ready? Here it is. You're going to enjoy this one, folks.
أنا غير هذا عدوي. أنا غير معني به. أنا
دولتنا اللي هي أي دولة؟
فلسطينية.
أي دولة فلسطينية.
طبعا إحنا بالنسبة لموقف حماس وموقف الشعب الفلسطيني في أغلبيته العظمى خاصة بعد 7 أكتوبر أظن تجدد الحلم والأمل فلسطين من البحر إلى النهر، من الشمال إلى الجنوب.
بحير الملح.
وهذا حتى كما قلت لك أصبح شعار في الولايات المتحدة وفي العواصم الغربية وعند الجمهور الغربي الأمريكي والغربي.
The American and the Western public.
الشعب فلسطين حرة من النهر إلى البحر. هذه شعارات الطلاب الأمريكان.
He's saying the American students are helping him, folks. Do you get that? Let me rewind it so you can see, and then we'll take it right to the end. He's saying it's American students.
It's a slogan chanted in
Here
the
we go.
United States.
حتى كما قلت لك أصبح شعار في الولايات المتحدة وفي العواصم الغربية وعند الجمهور الغربي الأمريكي والغربي إنه
Look at that.
الشعب
flag.
فلسطين حرة من النهر إلى البحر. هذه شعارات الطلاب الأمريكان وفي العواصم الأوروبية كذلك. مشروعنا الفلسطيني اللي عليه شبه إجماع وطني فلسطيني، حتى اللي عنده رأي مضطر أن يقوله بسبب
I am like
The enemy is saying it clear. This is what we want. This is what we don't want. And we appreciate the fact that your students are actually repeating what we've been saying for years.
And if you understand the Arabic language, he might as well say these stupid people that we hate enable us to do the things that we're doing. I mean, that's the way that he represents it. And by the way, if you want a good picture of the level of ignorance that drives these positions, let me play this video.
People in power.
Okay, this is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay? She is running for office at this point. Okay? She wants to be in the House. Okay? Now, this is like critical that you understand what's happening here. She's being asked right now in the current moment. She's being asked about Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And what she says is well, let me set it up a little bit differently. She mentions Israel. And then she gets asked to explain herself.
Yep.
Watch how look at how brutally ignorant this little girl is.
Well, she's not such a little girl.
Well, look, she is undoubtedly the dark horse. I respect the political prowess that she has. A lot of people have minimized her because she might be one of the most stupid women that have ever walked through the doors of the House. She really is. She's not a smart lady, but she is very good at manipulating people. And I guess there is some real intelligence in that
or she's got a good staff that is kind of pushing an agenda. And again, we're back at the agenda.
Well, she has a very look. I'm going to give her credit where credit is due. She's very good at manipulating.
Okay,
she knows how to manipulate the people around her. But remember, she was a bartender. That's what she was before she came. So that's how she knows how to work people's minds. And
she's got good people skills.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Okay, but her IQ with respect to how the world works is completely dead. She's an evil woman. Okay, but listen to this. This shows you the level of stupidity that exists in people like this that are leading. And she represents the generation of people that are doing this.
While you're listening to this, I need you to understand that Khalid Mashal and Hamas and the people who
That's the man we just saw, by the way.
That's the man we just saw. The people who believe, the Hamas and the fundamentalist Arabs who believe that Israel should be wiped off the map, realize that they don't have the military power to do it today. In the past, when I was growing up, we were afraid of an all-out war. Syria, Jordan, Egypt, they tried to kind of finish us off. 1973 was the last, but they realized that they don't have the military power, okay, to wipe us off the map. And they are using what we call soft power. And what you're looking at is Khalid Mashal's main source of power that isn't in the Middle East, and it isn't a gun, it is people like this.
The one good news is Khalid Mashal doesn't understand two major things about Israel. Number one, he doesn't understand that the reason why Israel won in 73, 67, 48, and all these other, including the Intifada and all the other nonsense that was going on, Israel didn't win because of their superior military might. Israel won because they had a stronger and more aggressive heart than anybody else. It was the spirit of the Jews, the people that don't give up, number one. Number two, they had God on their side. And that's the thing that those are the two variables that, well, Israel could be completely outnumbered with a military that's inferior, which will never happen. But they could, and they would still win for those two reasons. They have a fighting spirit that cannot be defeated, and they have the backing of Almighty God. No one should ever forget that.
But that doesn't excuse this.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, when I make these appeals for people to be pro-Israeli, to be pro-Jew, I'm making these appeals for their sake, not for the sake of Israel. Give me a break. Israel's going to prevail. Whether or not anybody wants that to happen, they will prevail. But watch this. This is going to speak volumes.
But I am, of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest.
Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And that, to me, is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
Get ready. Get ready, folks. Are you ready? This shows the heart of it all. Okay? This shows the heart of it all. Here we go.
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
Do you think you can expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd also I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
Okay, so she's not the expert on geopolitics on the issue, but she's going to speak up. But because she's been conditioned to, and she's brainwashed to.
So we're going back to the Hamas, the Muslim leadership today, who believes that they can take on Israel, but understands that they do not have the military might, is sitting over there in Qatar, making millions, and saying,
billions.
What I can't do, she's going to do for me.
Yep. Like, we don't have to do anything because they are doing it for us.
The students, the people in the United States are chanting my slogans, even though they have no idea what they mean. They're yelling my existence, even though they have no idea what that means. And they are doing my work for me. This is the war that is being fought today.
Can I show you my favorite example of how incredibly ignorant these people are? This here is the Secretary of State. Yeah. We all know who Antony Blinken is. He's speaking at the World Economic Forum, which, by the way, the World Economic Forum this year was the biggest joke. By the way, on Countdown to Eternity, which releases tomorrow, I'm going to spend a lot more time talking about this video in detail. But there's just one phrase that I want to go over with everybody that's going to, like, it's just staggeringly insane. Like, how does the Secretary of State of the United States of America have the guts to say this about his only real ally in the region? It's staggeringly insane. Okay, listen to this. This is really interesting. Okay, here we go.
Looking very much forward to the discussion with Tom Friedman.
There's the
state. Talk to me about the war still firing rockets at Israel.
Let's just see here
the papers.
Here we go.
On one side, you read about the power these days, Mr. Secretary, of these small units, Houthis, who can disrupt global shipping. Hamas on day 105 of the war still firing rockets at Israel. And on the other hand, I know that the diplomacy is going forward in the Middle East. We had the Saudi foreign minister saying publicly yesterday here in Davos that Saudi Arabia remains committed to a normalization with Israel under the right terms and opportunities for a Palestinian state.
Which they all know that will never be the case. They all know that the Palestinians will always reject the idea of a two-state solution. They know that, right?
I just said it.
Which means they're going to continue to normalize, but they had to say that, and I explain that tomorrow. But anyway, here we go.
Talk to me about the tension between those two trends now unfolding.
Well, Tom, first of all, it's wonderful to be with you, to be with everyone here today. And Klaus, thank you for your incredibly warm and generous words.
Before you hear what this man has to say, I just want everybody to understand this. He is, in my opinion, anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but
he does not care about Israel.
Here's my problem, though. Okay, he is the Secretary of State of the largest power in the world today.
Yep.
Okay, and
Israel's largest ally
and our largest ally. This is the rod that we have to lean on.
He has people in his State Department that are known terrorist affiliates that work with him.
Yeah.
I think everybody should understand that. Okay, here we go.
Look, on one level, Tom, what we're seeing and what you've seen and written about for a long time.
Listen to this very closely, by the way. I need you to listen how he characterizes Israel. Listen to this. He doesn't say it. It's subtle, and no one's going to catch it unless they're looking for it. Okay? Watch this.
Is the evolution of something that's been in the works for quite a while, which is with the advent and the democratization of technology, information technology, you have super-empowered groups, super-empowered entities that can make an extraordinary amount of trouble for nation states and others.
With the advent of the information technology.
He is basically saying that Israel is using its advantage in technology, specifically in the military and all other places, to create major disruptions. No one's going to catch that. No, very few people are going to catch that reference, especially with how he shades it. Watch this.
And we're seeing that. But I think we're also seeing something else. And if you look hard enough, you can really see it. And it's a different equation that answers the profound needs of virtually everyone in the region, starting with Israel and starting with its age-old quest for genuine security. And it's this. You now have something you didn't have before, and that is Arab countries and Muslim countries, even beyond the region, that are prepared to have a relationship with Israel in terms of its integration, its normalization, its security, that they were never prepared to have before, and to do things, to give the necessary assurances, to make the necessary commitments and guarantees, so that Israel is not only integrated, but it can feel secure. But you also have an absolute conviction by those countries, one that we share, that this has to include a pathway to a Palestinian state.
So I just want everybody to understand this. That is not the conviction of these Arab countries.
No.
These Arab countries would rather not have a Palestinian state at all. They're not going to say that publicly.
Who's got the conviction for a Palestinian state?
This right now, I hate to say this. Are you ready? Because you're a citizen. You're an American. You have dual citizenship. Here we go. You ready? It's America. We're pushing this.
What does America get out of a Palestinian state?
Nothing. We get cursed by God.
Why are we pushing for a Palestinian state?
It is spiritual.
Okay.
There's no other way to put it. So can I get a little deeper into that answer?
Yep.
Okay. This administration hates God.
Okay.
This administration hates God. The further away you get from the Lord, the more you bring upon yourself these types of views, the destruction. Look, that's been the whole problem with Israel's history. Every single time Israel's been taken to task, every time Israel's been spanked, it's because they walked away from the God of their fathers. Do you understand that? Well, you do understand this better than anybody. If Israel stayed close to the God of heaven today, they would be the most powerful nation in the world. No one would ever even...
And the
biggest, the most powerful, most populated, everything.
But again, and again, this is a correlation that I make again and again. We're the PKs, okay? We're the God's kids. I mean
know.
we have to be spanked by the world in order for everybody to understand what is important.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to say something else, and I can't help saying it. Because I am an American citizen, I am allowing myself to say it.
You have to.
Are we going to be more godly after this election?
No. Are you... look.
Okay.
Can I say this?
So if this election, I just want to say this, because I know I'm going to make some people mad too.
I am undoubtedly going to vote for President Trump because he's going to be in the primaries and he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the only option that we have to actually do some things that really matter in this country. But I'm just going to tell you this right now. If you think that's going to make this country more spiritual, you're nuts. You know what's going to end up happening? There's going to be a whole bunch of people in the conservative movement that come up that think they're okay because they're conservative, but they're living debaucherous lives. And do you know that some of the worst examples of debauchery I've ever seen has been at conservative gatherings? Really? I went to a conservative event a couple of years ago and swore to myself I'd never go to one again. Right? Bought my kids there.
I haven't been to one yet.
Bought my kids there. We were there at a conservative event, and literally almost every single person that was there, including many of the pastors that were there, were drunk out of their brains.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I never know that Republicans and conservatives go that direction.
I was sitting at the table, the pastor's table, looking across the way at Greg and Stephanie Denham of Rise Church in San Marcos, and thinking, dude, are we the only ones? I looked at Greg and go, like, are we the only ones that aren't drinking? It's like, and he laughed at me. That's like, Greg, by the way, if you guys don't know who Greg Denham is, he's such a sweet man. He really loves Jesus. Him and his wife are amazing, amazing people. I really respect them and admire them.
Okay,
you have to know Christ. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the only thing that's going to fix the problem.
But let's tie this all together, okay? This is a Secretary of State. We have a younger generation who is throwing Israel under the bus without even understanding why they're doing it. And in their name, we have enemies of America and of Israel. And let's make this clear, okay? Hamas is no lover of America. The Houthis, Iran is no lover of America, but Iran is using these anti-American elements inside the United States to give it legitimacy. And you're going to hear people like him, because they have to appease the people who are yelling from the river to the sea, because not that they know what river and what sea, because they have to appease, willing to do, and to push agendas, okay, that are completely anti-American.
Yep, 100%.
And our enemies, Iran, and I'm going to even say, I mean, China's sitting there around the corner looking at all of this and saying,
drooling.
Okay, and saying, okay, what buttons can we push? Where can we donate to a university where the next generation of leadership is going to appease and accept the Chinese mentality and the Chinese culture?
Oh, no, David, I disagree with you on that one. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you on that one. Because it's not that they're waiting to do that now. They did that 25 years ago.
There we go.
They invested in this 25, 30, 40 years ago. As a matter of fact, what you're seeing in these young students, right? What you're seeing in these young students is exactly that. It's exactly that.
What I'm trying to say is everything that's anti-American is an asset for our enemies. These people are an asset to
100%.
Hamas. They're an asset to China. They're an asset to Russia. They are the main asset that Hamas, China, and Russia have right now in the world.
Yep.
And look at the Houthis. I mean, I saw demonstrations for the Houthis. I mean, who are the Houthis? Who knows what they are? And I mean, I like Yemenite food, and their dances are kind of cute. But I mean, who are the Houthis? I mean, and
David, we went through this, man. Look, as a child, I was raised hearing stories of Yemen because my mom was a missionary there. I was raised hearing stories of Gaza because my mom was a missionary there. 3 years ago, when the President of the United States signed a declaration that said that the Houthis were no longer a terrorist organization, I lost my mind. You know what everybody told me?
Did they put it back on the list?
They said I was crazy. They said, you're nuts, you're crazy, you're no. What are you talking about? Why is that even a big deal? These are just a bunch of insignificant people. I said, you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea what you're saying. We just tied the hands of Saudi Arabia and Israel to defend themselves. You don't understand what that means. Now, he didn't want to. I'm telling you, his regime did not want to do it, but he finally had to put them back on the list. But by the way, he didn't put them back on the list as terrorists.
Oh.
They were put back on the list as rebels.
All right. Okay. But, I mean, are we allowed to fire rockets at them now?
I think what it does now is it goes from... it adds to the standard rules of engagement. So if they fire at you, then you can fire back at them. But you can't do anything to prevent them from doing anything to you.
You can't preempt.
That's right. No preemptive action.
Okay, so here's the thing. Do we understand that we are making the Houthi the flavor of the month for the whole Muslim world?
Of course we are.
I mean, we're spending millions of dollars. I think a Tomahawk missile costs, what, $4 million?
Yeah, but you understand why they have to do that, Habibi. They have to do that because they have to protect the Sinai. They have to protect the Red Sea and all of the shipping that's going through
Red
there.
Sea route.
They have to.
Okay.
Because if they don't, they lose the Mediterranean. And if they lose the Mediterranean, they have bigger problems.
So which brings us back, and I think we've said this, that we have to fight against everybody who has an AK-47, a drone, and a missile who believes that he can bring America to its knees.
Yep.
And as a result of mindsets like this, and what we've been seeing, they are actually accepting, okay, that America doesn't need to be beaten on a military or on a political level. We can do this on the social level.
100%. That is not an incorrect assertion.
So we need to fight back.
Yep. And that's the very reason why we're doing what we're doing, because there is so much of this happening. And the problem is like, I don't know why as Christians we're taking the lazy approach here, right? I even heard somebody, a very popular conservative person, basically say, well, we have to worry about the well-being and the welfare of the United States of America. So we need to get out of Israel. We need to not be involved in anything in the Middle East. We need to walk away from Russia. Look, there's a lot of things that we should be walking away from. We shouldn't be getting our hands involved in Ukraine. There's a lot of things we shouldn't be walking away from. But do you understand that the national security of the United States is directly tied to what happens in Israel? That's the whole reason why we're doing this show.
Yep.
Is to talk about the significance of the relationship with Israel and the United States. And if Israel is not secure, can I just make this? I'm going to make myself very clear. America's not secure.
So how do we make Israel secure on the election day?
Well, listen, look, I'll make myself very clear on this one. On election day, if Trump wins, Israel's security problems, for the most part, are going to be very, they're going to be gone. Because I can just tell you this right now, with the winning of Trump doesn't have a second term to worry about, so he's going to be more aggressive than he was in the first term. He already knows beyond a shadow of a doubt. Everybody knows what he means. Everybody knows that he hates the establishment that's been trying to destroy everything in the Middle East, and I can tell you who's going to get right on board. Everybody in the UAE, everybody around the UAE, everybody around the Persian Gulf, every single Arab state that is a Sunni state, and actually a couple of Shiite states like Azerbaijan probably, will get involved in a very aggressive move to protect assets in Israel and will normalize immediately. They will normalize literally overnight.
So what's going to happen until then? And here's my question. And this is
if Trump gets elected. Actually, can I just say this? I'll make myself very clear. With him already smoking the primaries in Iowa, just literally peeing all over it, and then DeSantis bailing out of the race, we all know Nikki Haley is a loser. We all know she's a warmongering devil. We all know that. Nikki Haley doesn't have a flipping chance. Nikki Haley is going to get her rear kicked in New Hampshire. And if she's smart and she knows what's good for herself, she's going to walk away before she goes to South Carolina, because they're going to smack her in South. Trump is going to mop the floor with her. Let's just face it. The Republican nominee is President Trump. And right now, based on the numbers that we have, everybody is scared of Trump winning, because if Trump wins, Trump is going to laugh in the face of the World Economic Forum, and he is going to give confidence to all of the Arab worlds to basically do what's going on.
Who's going to run against him?
Who's going to run against? Well, I mean, if Biden has anything to do with it, he's going to try to run against him.
A lot of vitamins.
Well, look, I think by the time we get to a year and a half from now, Biden won't be able to even feed himself. Okay?
So who is going to run?
Well, I think he's going to still try to run against him.
Wow, that's going to be amazing.
He's running off the rails.
So you know that Israel is hoping that Trump's going to get in.
Of course Israel's hoping. Listen, can I just tell you, Saudi Arabia is hoping. Oman is hoping.
Okay, but what is Iran saying right now?
Iran is scared out of its brain.
Which means what's going to happen?
Iran does not want the United States of America.
Where am I going with this?
I know where you're going with this. They're going to do everything that they can to make sure that that doesn't happen by creating a level of disruption that puts a stop to any type of these types of things. We have to be careful what we say about elections because, you know, the tech oligarchy. But yeah, they're going to do whatever they can to stop it.
So what I believe we're going to see, that the more the possibility of Trump becomes a reality, the more the enemies of the United States are going to be raising their heads.
Oh, undoubtedly. Look, I do not. I'm just going to say this because I want to be very careful how this is actually said. Okay, I am on a regular basis praying for President Trump because I believe that they are going to try to take his life. I would not put that past them. And not that it's not that I even want to look. I hate to say something like that. I have literally no desire to even talk about that because it would be a disaster for the whole world if something like that happened. Whether or not he was a president, it would be a disaster. We can never allow the assassination of any leader. We can never allow the assassination of any U.S. president. It doesn't matter, past or present. It can never be allowed. It would be devastating to our nation and devastating to our world. We can never let that happen.
I do hope he's got good security.
Well, he does. He has some of the best in the world. But my whole point is, if he becomes the president, it is going to change a lot. By the way, we will do a live stream together right now on Locals, and we'll have we can have a deeper conversation about that aspect of it. We can do that for just a second. It would not be a bad idea. We should probably do that. We should probably have that conversation. And for those of you that are on Locals, we're gonna be on Locals shortly. So we'll let you guys know about that, and I'll put a link up there so that when we're ready, we'll start that up. So
maybe to kind of paraphrase what we've been talking about. Islam is a different kind of religion. Remember that. They believe in the destruction of the state of Israel and in the destruction of any kind of Jewish entity in the Holy Land. Israel's enemies believe that they cannot take Israel on the battlefield or the West on the battlefield. So the war's being fought in a different way using mindsets that are totally anti-Christian, anti-God, anti-democracy, anti-United States, anti-Western values. And that is the war that is being fought on all these different levels. And yes, what we're saying again is we have a role to play in this war.
Yeah, it's big. Look, the bottom line of everything we've been talking about is that the relationship between the United States and Israel is probably the most critical foreign policy issue in existence right now. There is no greater and more significant relationship forged amongst nations.
But
there
here's
is
the
none.
thing. You heard Khalid Mashal today, and he says he has a relationship with parts of the United States.
That's right. Of course he does.
And the question is, which part of the United States is
State Department.
Okay, not only that, he's got a relationship with all those kids yelling Palestine should be free.
Of course he does.
He's using them.
But he's not talking about that when he's talking about that relationship. He's talking about the political officials that are supporting him. He's talking about those crazy 4 girls that have just absolutely lost their mind. Rashida Tlaib, the squad, all the one who's literally, if she could have it her way, American citizens would die.
Okay, so we've got anti-American leadership or anti-American representatives in the House of Representatives.
Anti-American Americans, bro.
Yep. There we go. And that is the war that is being fought right now. And I'm going to say this, watching what's going on from this point of view, we're losing.
Oh, yeah, of course we are. When you hate God, you hate freedom. And that's what we're dealing with right now. These people are hating God and hating freedom. By the way, did you ever notice that if I do a live stream, typically, like if I'm doing a live stream online, I can get as many as 4,000 to 5,000 people watching simultaneously, like normal, even when I'm doing a live stream alone.
Okay.
But when we talk about a live stream that relates to an issue as significant as Israel, we get a quarter of that.
Really?
Look at that. We've had right now only 630. That's not only. I mean, it's a pretty good crowd. We got 630 simultaneous watchers and 3,000 people that have watched. By the time, when it's like my single one where I'm dealing with all kinds of other issues outside of Israel, that number would be 12,000 and 2,000 or 3,000.
So we've got the system against us.
You kidding me? Yes, because the system is owned by who? The devil. He owns it. That's exactly what it is. Linda, by the way, thank you so much. Linda in Hinojosa, thank you. You say, thank you for the message. How can I explain this to people who refuse to hear? You know what you do? You work on the relationship that you have with them. You don't force down their throat what they don't want to hear, but what you do is you give them information about things that they do want to hear. So let me explain what I mean when I say that. If you have a family member or somebody you're talking to that doesn't want to hear anything about Israel, okay, forget it. Drop the Israel discussion. Talk about something that's more relevant to them in their immediate moment. Do what you can to get them to be closer to the Lord.
Yep.
The closer they get to God, the more they will want to be aware of these other issues. So the bigger issue is, how are they, what's their walk with the Lord doing like? They don't want to even hear what that. You be an example to them. You know what I mean?
Evangelize by life.
That's right.
And I think that's what we can do more than anything.
And I think that's such a key component. It's such a key component. People tell me this all the time. James, you're wasting your time as a pastor getting involved in all these political issues and talking about these things because it's all about preaching the gospel. Here's my thing. Do you think that I'm so ignorant as a believer that I do not understand the significance of preaching the gospel and people knowing the Lord? Preaching the gospel should be as basic as the air that we breathe. We do that every day. Why? Because we know that man's heart isn't going to change unless they are confronted with the gospel and they receive the gospel. We know that. But that does not absolve us of the responsibility of aggressively standing up for righteousness.
James, do you think there are any Christian Democrats?
No. That sounds harsh. But I don't know if anybody... No, don't get me... Okay, let me back up. I know a ton of people who are Christians and say they're Democrats that don't believe virtually anything that the Democratic Party stands for. But they're Democrats because their relatives were Democrats and that's what they were told to be. Lots of immigrants are that way. There are so many beautiful, wonderful, godly Hispanic families that I meet on a regular basis. I'll bet even some that go to our church, probably not for long, but people that go to our church that come from Hispanic backgrounds, Middle East. We see a lot of people from the Middle East. They come, what are they told? You must join the Democratic Party. But they don't stand for any of the principles of the Democratic Party. So let me just say this. There are lots of Christians who are Democrats. But those Christians either don't understand the tenets of Christianity, which means they're not really believers, right? Or they don't understand the tenets of what the Democrats believe. Most people who say that they're Christian and love the Lord and are actually members of the Democratic Party are what I would call legacy members, right? Meaning they joined because their mother joined, their father joined, that's what they were told to do, but they don't understand. There is no way you can be a Christian. There is no way on God's green earth you can be a Christian and say it's okay to abort a baby under any circumstance. There's no way you can be a Christian. No way in the world you can be a Christian and think it's okay to do so many of the things that these people in the Democratic Party are doing. There's just no way.
So the situation is an upcoming war for everything that we hold dear right now.
100%.
Okay, so let's fight it.
100%. Right? So I think it's really, 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 really important. And by the way, I will say this because there are people who are Christians who are actually politicians and do very, very well. Can I give you one example of a guy who's a Christian, a faithful Christian, who's a politician who's out of office now, but I hope he makes a run for the House, for the Senate, for state or for national Senate. I will tell you this because he is such a sweet man, and as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, and And it's been a little while since I've had him on my show. Matter of fact, I wonder if I could get him. No, we don't have enough time to get him on the show right now. We can't do it. Anyway, Mike Morrell, who's state senate here in California. Wonderful man, very godly man. Stood up for all the. He lost a lot of fights.
Nope.
But has stood up for righteousness through and through. Really, really good man. And there's a lot of people like that are in office right now that are Christians that will stand up and fight. There are politicians that will fight like literal hell for things that are right. There's another girl that'll end up being in the state senate or actually on the national house at some point soon. I could start naming a bunch of people that are Christians that really love the Lord that,
Okay.
But again, I don't think you can be a Democrat. Like, believe what they believe and actually be a Christian. I don't think that's.
I'm really curious to talk to a Christian Democrat.
I've talked to many of them, and then when I talk to them, and every single time I talk to them, it's the same issue, right? I'm a Christian. I'm a Democrat. No one's ever going to change it. Okay, let's first talk about your walk with God. What makes you a Christian? And they give me all the right answers. Oh yeah, you are definitely a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well let me ask you a question. What does your party believe?
Okay.
And then they always tell me they don't know, or they tell me things that the party doesn't believe. And then I go, they believe this. Are you still a Democrat? Well, if that's true, then no, I'm not a Democrat. Okay, there you go.
Well,
we just changed that.
We're seeing. I mean, I actually saw a movie a little while about people who say they support Hamas.
Yep.
And we're asked to actually donate money to the Hamas, and then say, okay, before you donate, though, that they believe this, and this, and this. And they say, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, not so much of a fan there. Yep, yeah. It's 100% right. By the way, Emilia, thank you so much. Imelda Cantone, thank you. You're amazing. Appreciate your generosity. Okay, let's do this. We're going to switch over to locals. I need just a few moments to use the restroom, but we will get on locals in just a minute. So we'll see you there. Well, give us about 5 minutes. We'll continue the conversation, the Trump conversation. I also want to say this. It's very important, right? We had a delay in the production, so I'm a little bothered by that, okay? But we are going to release David's new video on his YouTube channel. Now, before we close this off, guys, let's have our moderators put in the link to David's YouTube channel. Please, you guys, subscribe and choose the notification button on his YouTube channel. I would like you to do that right now. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a 10-minute, anywhere from 5 to 10-minute break. We're going to go to locals. You've got the link pinned right there. We're going to switch over to locals. By the way, can I just say this? For you guys that support me on locals, I just want you to know this. Outside of the administrative fees that we have to pay, all of it goes to my family. It goes to me and my family. You guys it helps us so much. So thank you for your support on locals. You're a huge blessing, and I think that your generosity is just overwhelming. Thank you so much for doing that. Justin, thank you. We will continue to pray for you and God to comfort you. Let's close in prayer, but go to David's channel and subscribe. Guys, have you put that link up yet?
He's yelling again.
Because I don't know if they're paying attention.
Wonderful.
Abby got
it's
it.
Coming
Abby got it. Okay, great. So,
guys, and thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. And please pray for the peace. Right now, Israel is in a very complicated situation. We need support.
Yep, amen. And immediately after we finish locals, immediately after we finish that broadcast, we will be releasing David's new video. It's a good one. It's information-packed. This video is one that just gives you all the information on what's going on. Like all the stuff you hear in the news you can't believe, you will get good, solid info from David. It's about 17 minutes of just solid, hard-hitting, here's all the info that you need to get updated. And that is going to be a 17-minute video. We will release it sometime around 1:30 to 1:45 at the latest. And we want you guys to watch it. It's important. So subscribe and hit the notification button and jump on. It'll be good. We love you guys. Let's pray, and we'll end it here and then jump on the locals here pretty quickly. So, Father in heaven, we just thank you, Lord, for your goodness and your faithfulness to us, Lord. Thank you for the privilege that we have to serve you and to do the very things that we do, Lord. We love you. Go before us. Help us to fight the good fight, Lord. seeking you, Lord, to glorify you. We love you, we thank you, and we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We love you guys. Fight the good fight.
See you soon.